Welcome back, Gurus. My name is Nick, and we are back here today to talk about outbound and inbound email communication. And what we're going to specifically talk about today is actually setting up your system so that you can communicate with people outside of your system, such as either your customers or even your employees within your organization, and being able to communicate with them, allowing them to communicate back, and having that communication documented as we chat back and forth. So we're going to do that today by using a outbound email client and as an integration, and then also using the inbound email ingestion that's built into the platform. So the first thing we're going to look at is our inbound email client. Now, the one that I'm going to be using here is going to be using our outbound email for SOAR, but you can, of course, use any of the other ones. We've got the Exchange on premise. We also have Exchange online. And I don't know if there's any others. Those are the three that I can think of right now. But we're going to be dealing with this one. But of course, you can use it for the other ones too. We just need to be able to send emails outbound. So what we're going to do here is looking at this integration, we're going to go ahead and download this. I'm not going to go through the whole download and install process. If you guys want to know more about how to download and install an integration, I'll link a link up here in the top right to my video that goes over that more in depth. But after you go ahead and download this, get that installed, we're going to jump over here to my platform where I have the system installed already. And in here, we'll go into the configuration real quick just to cover kind of how we got this configured. All right, in here in the configuration, if we scroll down just a little bit here, we can see that we have the outbound email configured where we have the SMTP server set and we have my user and password set as well. And then, of course, if you wanted to set up OAuth authentication or anything like that, you can, of course, do that down in this section. Further down, we're also going to be able to set our from email as well as the port numbers we're going to be using and the timeouts in the in seconds down here. And then last but not least, we're also going to have the ability to set up our SSL for Start TLS. We're also going to have the capability in here to do Jinja templates for your outbound email. Um, I I'm not going to go into that today. This is a bit beyond what I can do with Jinja. So what I will show you how to do is our email templates using HTML on the inline template format. So I will touch on that here just shortly. But once you get all this configured and set up, go ahead and test that out and deploy it. All right, once that gets deployed, we are going to then come into our playbooks so that we can start setting up the playbooks that we're going to use for our outbound email. Now, what we're going to do is I actually have a couple of outbound emails already set up. So these are the four right here that we're going to be using. And when I said that I would show you that templated use, I do have a template here that I'll just demonstrate for you. I'll show you it, but it's not going to be out there on our GitHub. But these other playbooks, they will be available out on the GitHub. So feel free to go out there and grab those. The link should be down below. So to start out today, what we're actually going to be focusing on is just one email in particular. So we're going to take a look at the send email specifically for an artifact. So let's go ahead and dive into that one. In here, this is a standard setup for your outbound emails. What we're going to do here is we've got it set to activate on a either email recipient or email sender artifact type. We are also going to have a template here that's going to ask the analyst for some additional information when they start to send that, which we'll see when we actually kick this off in just a little bit. And then once that activation gets completed here, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into this outbound email and we're going to take a look at the script that builds this email for us. In here, this is where we're going to take a look at actually configuring the email, setting all of those values for all of the inputs, and really building this out. Now, this may seem kind of complicated, but really what we're going to do here is to start out, we're going to build who the email is to, both to and CC'd on the email. We're going to assign any attachments. We can grab attachments directly from our attachments list here. So if we want to grab any attachments that are actually already in our incident, we can grab those to send them in as an email. The other thing that we can also do is we can grab the ID for the incident ID so that we can track this and track it back. That'll be useful for the conversations that we're going to be establishing. That way we can track both the sent emails and the responded emails. We'll of course set up our from here, which this is just going to be whoever you're sending your emails as. Our subject here, one of the things that we are going to focus on is on the subject, we want to have the subject as some kind of subject name, which this could be provided by the analyst or whoever. But then what we're going to do is at the end, we want to put this parentheses ID colon and then whatever the incident ID is. Now, the way we're going to use this is essentially when that response comes back from the somebody outside of the system, we're going to key in on that ID and we're going to parse that email out and actually establish where that email that's coming inbound should actually be associated with and be applied to. That way we can control those conversations and we understand how to associate an inbound email with an incident. I do have a guide on actually parsing emails out. I'll actually go ahead and post that link down below as well, so that if you want to, for the tips and tricks of parsing an email, that'll actually help you out quite a bit there. Next, we're just going to set the importance of the email here, and then further down, it's just going to be some more stuff that's available for this integration, such as setting up the actual value of the message ID, also setting things like the if we're trying to respond to a specific message that has been going back and forth, we can do that. That'll become more useful when we're actually looking at the conversations table. We also have the ability to add our body as well of what's going to be included. Now, what we're going to do here is this is just going to send whatever the input is of the analyst. But we have a couple different options where if this isn't set, you'll have some other options to send that email. Now, this is kind of where we get into this mail inline template. Now, down here, what we're actually doing is this is essentially a Jinja template that we're using that's going to fill in some information. You can take a look at the template files that already exist within the integration. A lot of these are going to use a certain type of macro that's going to allow you to fill in information, such as different row information or different incident information as well. But what we're going to do for our templates for now, so I can show you a little bit easier just doing an HTML template, is my email template text here, or test here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to build our inline email template to provide our HTML. So I've got all of my different formatting and everything built out so that I can actually send this email. Now, one thing that I will note is anywhere where you're building some kind of formatting for that CSS, you're going to have to actually put double parentheses, because of the fact that in Python, a single parentheses is looking for some kind of output or some kind of input to the text there. So if you put double parentheses and both open and both closed here, that'll allow you to still add that CSS coding. And then down where we're actually going to put in the things that we want filled in by our script, we're just going to put the single parentheses. This is going to allow us to ultimately at the bottom fill that in using a format and then whatever things we are actually filling in there. So we'll go ahead and do that to fill out our template. And just to show you what this looks like once I send this HTML as a template, again, we're using the mail inline template. we're going to see this email coming out of it. And this is just a quick, dirty email. It gives you some kind of templated look so that you can see some kind of standard practice email that's coming to the user. That way, it's not just a plain text email and it doesn't look like it could potentially be phishing or anything like that. But you can see I filled in the SOAR user as the name up here. I also filled in that this was for a testing the outbound function. And then last but not least, in the actual subject of the message of the HTML, you would actually see the subject of the email too. So this is kind of what that looks like. You guys can build out your templates however you guys want to show this information off. All right, back here, once we get this built out, then what we're actually going to be doing is we're going to be going to our save outbound email results. This is actually going to do, this is going to establish our email communication. And what I mean by that is actually if we take a look at our incident here and we actually scroll down to the bottom section here, we have this ability to keep track of our email conversations. These email conversations can actually track both the emails that are sent and the emails that are returned. But one of the other things that we can do that you may have seen at the top here is actually posting the received responses as a note here. So this is going to give you the ability to see those responses in both a note or down here in your emails for your conversation. And if we actually scroll over to the right, this is where we can actually respond to a specific email that may have been sent to us, and we can actually apply this as a response message as well. So now that we've gone over all of this, then now we can take a look at our parsing script on the inbound email message. Now, I will already expect you to have your inbound email set up. So if you have not already done that, I have already created a video on that. I'll link that up in the top right here. Here on our parsing script for our email inbound message, I'm going to have my code here that is going to provide us a human readable printout of the actual date time that comes back from our email, such as our date received or even date sent for our email. We're also going to grab all of the email header information that we need so that we can parse this out. And then right here where I was talking about using that ID, we're actually going to be looking for that ID specifically within the email so that we can actually say that, okay, once we grab that ID, that is what's going to associate our incidents together. Again, follow that link down in the bottom that actually talks about all the tips and tricks for parsing an email out. That'll help you out a lot. But you can see here that I'm just going to grab that incident ID and then I'm going to apply that incident ID with a query builder to build that association. Further down here is just where we're actually going to be parsing out the information that's coming back from that inbound email and actually attaching it to our both our conversation or as a note. So you can see that we'll have the notes for the we'll have the conversation posted here, and then at the very bottom down here of the script, I have the note as well. So this will be included in my export. So if you guys wanted to see this and use this, you guys can definitely do that. All right. Now that I've kind of gone over all of this, I know that I've thrown a lot of information at you, but like I said, I'm going to make all of this available for you out on our IR Guru's GitHub. So you'll be able to see all of the exports of all of our playbooks, as well as all of the exports for the inbound email parsing as well. But let's go ahead and actually send this email. So like I said, I got a bunch of different playbooks. We have the ability to send an email here. Or of course, I showed you that we can send an email based on a conversation down at the bottom of our conversations. But the one that we'll be focusing on is using an artifact for an email recipient to go ahead and send an email. So what we'll do here is we'll actually come over, we'll click here, and we'll scroll down just a little bit so that I can see the send email. And when we click this, it's going to pop up and it's going to ask us for some additional information. For here, this is where I was talking about. We've got a form that's going to pop up and ask the analyst for some additional information. But what we can do here is we can just say this is a, so this is just going to be a test subject for the email. I'm also going to jump into the body and send this as a, send a message to them. All right, so this message is for the email recipient, kind of plain Jane, but we'll show you how this will work here in the future. The next thing that we can do is if we wanted to apply any attachments, we could do that. I've got one README attachment down here, so if I wanted to include that, I could actually just make this a comma separated list for readme.pdf. This will actually allow it to come back, grab that attachment for us, and then attach it to our email as we send this out. Next, we're going to go ahead and just tell it to randomly generate a message ID. That's cool with me. We're not actually sending this as a reply to, so that's fine. We can keep this as a normal incident, or we can keep this as a normal importance. And then last but not least, we also have the templates. So if we were using those Jinja templates that I had mentioned earlier that we can build out for this, we could just go ahead and select one of those templates here by building those out in our list. But like I said, I'm not going to be covering that today. After we've got this all built out, we can go ahead and execute and send this email. All right, and we can see this went successfully. So let's go ahead and take a look at our inbox. All right, so taking a look at our inbox here, we can actually see that the message came in. I've got my message right here, and you can also see that that README file has been attached as well. So now let's go ahead and respond to them. We'll just use one of these quick responses right here. And if we actually had an attachment that we wanted to send back, that would actually get attached directly to the incident. But then in our conversations, it'll actually add that that attachment was added there as well too. So let's go ahead and now take a look at our conversations list and our notes that we should have now on the incident. All right, back here in our notes and attachments section, you can see that that note has been, or that email has been grabbed. It's been parsed out and added as a note to our incident here. So you can see that we just are getting the note off of it. You may have to do some tweaking on this. I'm actually parsing it out using this line here, saying that anything before that line is what I want, because this is what signifies the new message. So if this is showing anything else for you, if it's getting all janky, you know, feel free to go and edit that email parser to just grab the beginning part of that email, which is the user's response. Scrolling down just a little bit, we see here that our emails that came in, we go to the bottom of our conversation, we can see here was the email that we actually sent to the user that got attached here. We can also scroll over and see that a README file was attached as well. And then what we can see is the email message that we got in return that's been added to our conversation as well. This is allowing us to track all of the email conversations in and out of the platform from each individual incident. All right, so what we covered here was using the outbound email for SOAR. We set up the ability to send emails out from the platform in both a templated format using HTML, or we built it so that we could have just a standard text-based email. Of course, I did mention that there was a Jinja file template capability. You guys can go ahead and take a look at that if you guys want to use the Jinja templates instead. But after we get this all built, now we can send emails back and forth using the conversations data table at the very bottom of our incident. Of course, you're going to have to add that yourself to wherever you would want that data table to exist. And then what we're going to do is we're going to be able to send those emails, receive those emails, and parse those emails out. The way that we're going to build that association for the inbound emails is using that in parentheses ID and then the incident ID. And that will allow us to both keep track of the conversations in our conversations data table, as well as up here in our notes. So I hope that that helps you guys out as you guys are working to build out your integrations and build out your capabilities of responding to incidents within your platform. In the future, I do plan on posting a video on now that we have the email set up, using this to create a effective communication system for seeking approval on being able to perform something within the platform, such as blocking an IP address or something like that. But at this point, my name is Nick. I hope that this has been beneficial to you. If it has, please give me a like and a follow. If it has not, then please give me a comment down below and let me know what you didn't like about it or what I could do better to make sure that these videos are giving you guys the information that you guys need to perform your jobs on a day-to-day basis. And if you guys like this and you need some kind of video tutorial on something else within the platform, feel free to post that idea down there as well so that we know that we're getting out to you guys and that you guys are looking for specific things so that we can add that to our video queue of things to do. I hope you gurus have gotten a lot out of this video, and we will see you guys on the next video.